when editing text in Microsoft Publisher, it's basically the same as Microsoft Word, but there are things which you can do in addition, and things that can be also done a little bit slightly different. I've got a block of text which I've inserted onto this document, and the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this blue line on the background, which is the margin. So if I go on to the page design, click on margins and click on none, and then we don't have that blue outline margin and getting in the way. So back to the text box. It's got these red dots around it, and it's got these 3 dots here to basically say that all the writing doesn't fit into the text box, and we'll have a look at that in a moment. But first things first, I'm going to highlight all the text within it by pressing Ctrl A, and that's even highlighting the text which we can't see. On the Home tab then I'm going to justify the text. I'm also going to change the line spacing. Well, actually one will be fine as it is. And what the difference is in Microsoft Word, that the paragraph and the line spacing is all on one icon. So if I click on paragraph spacing, I choose 8, or I could go a little bit bigger if I wanted to, but 8 will be enough, so you can see that clearly there are 3 different paragraphs at present seen on this text box. I'm also going to make my title stand out, so I'll make it bold. I'm just going to increase the font up to 14 so it stands out a bit. And I'm also going to use the case. One thing which is different here on Publisher than there is in Word, you can actually just make a normal all caps, and you can do a small caps, and I think that looks quite nice, small caps, so I'm going to use that one there, and again make it a little bit bigger so it does really stand out. Now when you're actually on a text box, you'll also have the text box tools which appear, which you don't see in Microsoft Word. So if we click on up on that on the top, you'll see that there are plenty of options there to be choosing from. And in particular, as I said to you a second ago, the text doesn't all fit on there. So if I click on text fit up here in the top left hand corner, and then I can do best fit or shrink text on overflow, what it does then, it makes sure that all the text actually does fit on the text box which we've got set up for it, and it readjusts the size and so on for you as well. So I can make that a little bit bigger, and as I did that, it automatically updated the size of the font because I clicked on shrink text on overflow. If I left it on one of the others, or do not autofit, then I'd have to manually change that font's size myself. Now one thing with this, you'll see that a lot of these words, especially computer there, viewing, available, they kind of start on one line and then they go on to the next line. So what I suggest you do is to highlight all the text, not just the bits where you can see they kind of split over 2 lines. And where it says hyphenation here, if you just untick the box and press OK, what it does then, it actually makes sure that there aren't any words like that which get split over 2 lines. And it's just a bit easier to read, and it looks a bit better as well, I think. Now, because this particular thing is an article for a magazine, I want to make my first line kind of stand out like you see in a newspaper by basically making that first letter a little bit bigger. So I could do that by just making it bigger this way and pressing bold, but then I've got all this extra space here and I'm kind of making everything shrink down as a result. So I'm just going to undo that by pressing Ctrl Z to get it back to the size it should have been, or originally was. And all I'm going to do, where we are in the text tool format, I'm going to click on drop cap, and it gives you all these different options. Now we can't actually see at this point because you can see this is covering over the previews in the background, so I'm just going to scroll across to the side a little bit, or maybe actually better do that side. And on that side then, but on the drop cap, as I'm going over it, it kind of previews what they look like. Now you could do like I did earlier, making the using that particular one there, style free, but then you've got that gap which is appearing then as a result, or I rather do it so it actually kind of fits into the text. So I use style number 1, and with that style you can go to the custom drop cap. You can choose how many lines it's going to be. It can be absolutely enormous if you want it to be, but it'd be a little bit too big in this case, so 2 is the minimum you can do. You can actually make the font style a little bit different as well, so it kind of stands out a little bit, so nothing too different, but something like so. And then when you press apply and press OK, you can actually see then that it actually fits in and looks a little bit like a newspaper article. Now this section I've got here, now it's basically a list of things, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of the commas, and I'm just going to press enter underneath each of these, because I want to make them like a bullet pointed list. But the problem I've got with this, because it's justified text and I've got that paragraph spacing on it, it kind of stretches them out a little bit too big. So back on the Home tab, I'm going to left align them, and I know it was only a slightly different thing. I'm going to make them italic, make them maybe a little bit smaller, and on the paragraph spacing I'm going to make sure it says none, and I'll just press enter at the end of that so there is a bit of a space there. And if I highlight the list of things which are there and I go to bullet points, I could do numbers as well. As I hover over them they kind of preview, but I don't like the fact there's a giant space between the bullet point and the actual words then. And there's two ways to do it. You can either actually just click on these here and drag them across so they fit in a little bit better, but the other way to do it, on the options where you've got your bullet points, you've got bullets and numbering at the bottom, and then you can decide yourself how big the bullet point is going to be. So I'm just going to knock mine down because I don't want it to be really kind of stand up and enormous. You can choose how far it comes out like that, so you can, it's just as easy as doing it that way. And you can actually choose what kind of bullet point you want. So if you click on character, you can see there's various things here, but if you go and have a look at the Wingdings font style, either 1, 2 or 3, you can see then there's various ones you say don't go crazy with smiley faces because it's probably not going to be suitable for what you're going to be using it for. But then as you come down and you can see you've got these kind of squares, these ones here as well, like tick boxes, and if you like one of those you click on it, press OK, and then it should appear in your list there. And there we go. And as I did that, you could see that the font actually adjusted itself to make it kind of so it fits in nicely. I did want to just add another paragraph there. As I press enter, it adjusts a little bit further, and that looks quite nice then as it does there on the screen.